right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the May Good Morning Truckee. My name is Raven Whittington, your humble host. I am a lawyer at Porter Simon, Sierra Injury Lawyers, and the vice chair of the Chamber Board, and also an advisor to the board of Sierra Buttes Trail Stewardship. So we have a great presentation this morning on land access and forest health. We're going to have presenters from the Truckee Donner Land Trust, the Forest Service, and Northstar Community Service Districts. We'll also hear from Tahoe Truckee Excellent and Education Foundation. Sponsors, as always, presenting sponsors, Tahoe Forest Healthcare System and Kelly Brothers Painting. Latte sponsors, the Town of Truckee, Auerbach Engineering, East River PR, Porter Simon, Tahoe Truckee Media, Truckee Tahoe Unified School District, 101.5 FM, Truckee Tahoe Radio, Sierra Sun, and Moonshine Inc. The Cappuccino sponsors, Tahoe Truckee Community Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation, JK Architecture and Engineering, Goldring Travel, Boreal Woodward Tahoe, and Contractors Association of Truckee Tahoe. Espresso sponsors, Dixon Realty, Lyft Truckee, Co-work and Conference and Wellness Space, Mountain Hardware and Sports, NV5, Peak Digital Studio, Mount Lincoln Construction, High West Law, and Elements at Coldstream. Thank you to Mountain Brew for all the coffee this morning, and as always, the committee that puts this together, Jessica Penman, Ruth Gearsey, Melissa Williams, and Marissa Yakitis, Kelly Cutler, Mayumi Peacock, Ernie Grossman, Gerald Herrick, Tony Lashbrook, Jim Porter, Deb Ryan, Ted Owens, and Jess Carr, and then Rory in the back, the team at Tahoe Truckee Media for doing the AV. All right, for me, now let's go around the room and introduce all of you. Let's start here, one of our presenters. You just give your name.
Jonathan Cook Fisher, I'm the District Ranger here on the Truckee Ranger District. Good to see you all.
Thanks.
Good morning, Laura Brown with Excellence in Education Foundation.
John Svahn, Truckee Donner Land Trust. Good morning. Mike Staudenmayer, Northstar CSD GS.
Coe, visit Truckee Tahoe.
Jackie Calvert, visit Truckee Tahoe.
Marisa Nodahi, Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation.
Colleen Dalton, CEO, visit Truckee Tahoe.
Eric Goldring Travel.
Lynn Baumgartner, Town of Truckee.
Michael Varian, consultant.
Thanks.
Evan Swain, Truckee River Watershed Council.
Jaya Abelman, Dixon Realty. Alex Bialski, Truckee Donner PUD.
Sonia Gustav.
Lindsay, let's go to you too.
Kurt Granger, a resident across from the 06.
Lindsay Romack with Truckee Town Council.
Joanne Verbeek with the Truckee River Watershed Council and Sunrise Rotary.
Dave Olson, Truckee Sunrise Rotary.
Let's jump up here, this table.
Mike Rogers, Library Board.
Martha Russell, Tahoe Music Alive.
Jeff Smith, Tech Futures Group.
Jessica, we'll jump back to you.
Jessica Penman, President and CEO of the Truckee Chamber, and Marissa doesn't bite if anyone wants to sit at her table.
I'm sitting with you.
And also Raven doesn't bite.
Yeah. At least cool people here.
April Cole, Friends of the Truckee Library.
Kathleen Egan, Friends of the Truckee Library.
Ernie Grossman, Truckee Local.
Kyle Overacker, Hampton Inn and Suites in Truckee.
Jan Zabriskie, Truckee Town Council, Nevada County Transportation Commission.
Louise Zabriskie, Friends of the Library.
Sarah Green, California Trails Conference Foundation.
Charlie Miller, as of yesterday, General Manager for Olympic Valley Public Service District.
All right, congratulations.
Kat Rolfe, Truckee Tahoe Airport District.
David?
Dave Metris, Bar Coffin, and Truckee Dirt Union. Grant Wilshire, High West Law.
Kelly Habibi, Sierra Buttes Trail Stewardship.
Let's go back. Peter, your table.
Peter Mayfield, Gateway Mountain Center.
Eric Hornbat with Truckee Fire.
Dylan Sheedy, Forester, Truckee Fire.
Scott Ferguson with Truckee Laundry and Trop Creek Outfitters.
Jamie Haddad, Martis Camp.
Jennifer Gallagher, JKAE.
Wendy DeMonte, Martis Camp.
Eva DeMonte, Martis Camp.
Jenny Kendrick, East River PR and Marketing.
Deb Ryan, Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation.
Charlene Simmons, Tahoe Music Alive.
We'll jump all the way back there.
Ralph Carlson, Truckee Library.
James Govan, new resident.
Chris Tennant, Mount Lincoln Construction and Cat Board.
Thomas Smith, Lieutenant Chief, CAL FIRE.
Okay, I believe that is everybody. Thank you so much for coming. These are going to be great presentations. We're going to start with the Truckee Donner Land Trust, John Svahn, the Executive Director. Welcome, John.
Morning, everyone. My allergies were off the hook this morning. I was sneezing like crazy, so then I took a Claritin, and now I just feel super low energy. So maybe we can help me come in a little bit here. Okay, so the Truckee Donner Land Trust, we're your local land conservancy. In short, we acquire and conserve land for habitat and also for public access. We've been around since 1990. I look around this room and we've partnered with many, most of you on various projects around town. So thanks for your partnership and support. Since 1990, we've conserved about 40,000 acres, a little north of that, in Truckee's backyard, and have constructed about 50 miles of trails. Some of it with the Land Trust and some of it in partnership with the Truckee Dirt Union, the Truckee Trails Foundation, working with the Sierra Buttes, and various other organizations around town. So if we could nerd out for a second, little history lesson. So this shows the Sierra Nevada checkerboard, and the checkerboard is a legacy of the Lincoln administration when they were both trying to fight the Civil War and build the Transcontinental Railroad. And the U.S. government at the time was cash poor and land rich, so they came up with the idea to finance the railroad to deed every other square mile, that's what the white checkers are, of land to the people that constructed the railroad, and then retained the alternating square miles in the form of a checkerboard. And that is how we have the ownership pattern we have today. The left photo is the checkerboard in 1975. And this is the checkerboard today, showing in dark green the acquisitions that the Land Trust and our partners, including the federal government, the Forest Service, state parks, the counties, and other nonprofits have conserved since then. So you can see that the checkerboard, the goal of the conservation of the checkerboard is to promote a more seamless management in that national forest. If every other square mile is owned by somebody else, it makes it difficult to fight wildfires, both from a logistical standpoint and also because if there's houses on it, you need to have more time spent protecting structures and less time allowing the firefighting to proceed how they would like to. In addition, it's a little more difficult to build a trail when you have to thread all those needles between the alternating ownership. And likewise, if you're trying to reconnect a watershed or a habitat migration corridor, it's tough to do with that ownership pattern. So that's what we've been up to. This little zoomed in map. What this just shows is the local checkerboard, the pattern of ownership. The pink color are properties that the Land Trust has worked to acquire, and now a different agency or partner owns it. For instance, you can see the stuff on Schallenberger Ridge. It was a partnership with the California State Parks to expand the size of Donner Memorial State Park. The stuff in the Truckee Canyon, that acreage is owned by California Department of Fish and Wildlife, and then numerous parcels are owned by the Forest Service. The dark green are properties the Land Trust owns, and the light green are conservation easements. The conservation easement is when the property owner still owns the land, but the Land Trust has acquired certain rights. Usually those rights are to continue to allow public access regardless of ownership, also to prohibit development, and to maybe there's some forest management goals. So, history lesson over. So let's talk about the fun stuff, ways to access these lands that have all been conserved. As I mentioned, we have about 50 miles of trails, and the opportunities to hike range from long distance hikes to paved trails, for instance, the Legacy Trail and the Martis Valley Trail, to everything in between. people on the left are birding. I don't know if you know this, but birding is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it dwarfs a lot of the industries that we think of when we think, if you're not a birder, I like to bird, but that we might not think of when we're out playing in the woods. And of course, skiing. In addition to backcountry skiing opportunities at Frog Lake, the Lake Run, and other places, the Land Trust supports Nordic skiing at both Tahoe Donner and Royal Gorge. And then if you like things a little on the spicier side, we have mountain biking and rock climbing. That's, I believe, Blackwall on the right. And this is a trail going into Wattle Ranch. Given that we have so many wonderful trail partners to work with, the Land Trust mountain biking work is usually on the beginner end of trails. So we have a nice beginner network out at Wattle Ranch in Elizabethtown, and then the more long distance trails. A couple of the long distance trails are both Nevada County is interested in building a long distance trail, as is Placer. Nevada County's trail is called the Pines to Mines Trail, and it'll connect Truckee with Nevada City. And just about everybody's working on it, with the county and the Forest Service in the lead. There are numerous properties to be acquired to be able to complete the 70-mile trail. And I got good news, I think they're closing at the end of June. So we'll be able to start working on the trail this summer. And then Placer County's trail, the Memorial Overland Emigrant Trail, will connect Truckee with Auburn. And that's already under construction. It'll be the Donner Lake Rim Trail along Schallenberger Ridge, and then the Memorial Emigrant Trail from the end of Schallenberger Ridge through Sugar Bowl and on into Cisco Grove. And then the West County interests are working on building a trail this way. So pretty neat stuff. We also have opportunities for camping and lake use. That's Weber Lake on the left. You can see it gets pretty busy on the right, but not quite Donner Lake busy. So it's a nice release valve if you want to go out and sit by a lake, be a little less busy. There's a campground there as well. And then Independence Lake, which we have kayaks for you to use there. We keep a fleet of boats in basin so as not to bring in aquatic invasive species. They're free to use. And if you don't feel like braving the wind, we've got a few motorboats to use as well. And for another overnight thing, we've got the huts at Frog Lake. They're open year-round. And I just wanted to add something. I hear from everyone that, oh, you can't get reservations at Frog Lake and you can't get reservations at Weber Lake. And it's true. It's kind of set up as a derby. So at 8 a.m. in the morning, it's like, go, and everybody gets on and tries to reserve a spot. And we get calls, something's wrong with the system. It's all locked up. But it's really just too many people trying to get reservations. But the good news is everybody does that. And then a few days later, everybody says, oh, you know what? I'm actually busy that week. And all of a sudden, we get reservations opening back up. And so I would encourage you to keep trying. We end up every year not 100% booked. It's somewhere between 80 and 90%. So there's plenty of reservations to be had. Whoops. Whoa, quick on the trigger there. Sorry. And then I hope everybody got out to check this thing out last week. This is a big partnership we're excited about with the town, and it's the new pedestrian bridge that's going in from the Truckee Springs Open Space Park on the south bank of the Truckee River to the West River Street corridor and the new park that the town's putting in. The bridge went in on Friday. All the bolts seem to have lined up, so we're pretty excited about that. And the Legacy Trail's built. We hope that this whole project will be done in this fall for everybody to go out and enjoy it. If you want to go for a walk now, the Legacy Trail's built on the south bank there. It's a nice walk. So to segue with what Mike and Jonathan are going to speak about, I wanted to speak a little bit to managing the forest on Land Trust property because, a lot of the properties acquired are ex-industrial timberland that have been either managed for production or have been sitting fallow for half a century. And so a lot of what we need to do is go in and thin the forest out, which I'm sure we're all very familiar with from our own property standpoint and also our adjacent open space. But we work with lots of partners. We don't have the resources or the staff expertise to be able to go out and do all this ourselves, or chainsaws or equipment. So when it's a local project in close to town, we work with various entities, including the Truckee Tahoe Community Foundation Forest Futures. And what they're helping us do is cut hazard trees adjacent to residences, and then smaller projects that we can't attract larger grants for. Excuse me. Truckee's Measure T funds a lot of our smaller Truckee open spaces, maybe the backyard open spaces you're familiar with, Pine Forest, Old Greenwood, Creekside Woods. The Airport District and Tahoe Donner, the projects we manage jointly with them, the airport has a large project going on at Wattle Ranch that's ongoing for multiple years, and it looks really great, as does the kind of Ure Valley, Carpenter Valley zone with Tahoe Donner. We're working with the Martis Fund up on Serene Lakes project. And then for our larger projects, for Weber Lake, Royal Gorge, these huge acreages, 3,000 and 5,000 acre projects where we have to do a ton of fields work, the state government, the Sierra Nevada Conservancy, California State Parks, and the Forest Service all contribute to both funding and project work. So pretty exciting stuff. Thanks.
Thank you, John. All right, up next we have Jonathan Cook Fisher of the United States Forest Service and the Truckee District Ranger. Welcome. Thank you.
Cool, thanks. Good morning. It's great to join you all. One of the hardest things in my job is because we don't have planning councils and lots of public meetings, that it often feels like the Forest Service operates behind a veil. So this is really an opportunity for me to re-engage on the projects that maybe we've already scoped and we've already informed the public about, but they kind of get lost in the shuffle with so much going on. So I hope some of this is new, or some of this might be just a good reminder of just the amount of work that we're doing in the forest right now. I'll start off by saying that the Tahoe National Forest is an amazing place to work. We have been very lucky the last couple years in that our recruitment and retention has been outstanding. Now, this is outside of fire. Fire is its own special challenge just because of federal pay rates and some of our competitors, let's just say. However, on the non-fire side, this is very much a desirable place to work, and that has to do in large part because of the communities in which we serve and partner with, so thank you all. On the Tahoe National Forest, we like to say we have two priorities. So we've all heard of forest restoration and the wildfire crisis strategy. This is a national initiative in which we need to treat the forest. John was reminding of that at the end of his presentation. But our second priority is very much public services. So the outdoor recreation economy, about 5, 6, 7 years ago, Bureau of Economic Analysis started to measure the effects of the outdoor recreation economy. And like birding, only more so, outdoor recreation was more than 2% of the national GDP, which is a huge number. California is obviously very large. It's kind of ironic that in California, the proportion of revenue for the outdoor recreation economy is less than many states, but that's mostly to do with the fact that California is such a large economy on its own. So agriculture and Hollywood and things like that, it's the ports. It's big, it's the biggest, but it's not big compared to the rest of the state. Anyway, moving on. This is the summer in which I'm thinking many of you are going to be irritated with me. And it's that way because we have spent the last 3 years planning a lot of work. This is the summer of implementation. So yay for us. We're going to be making a big difference this year, but it means access is going to be restricted in some areas, closures in place. Let's get into it. Priority 1, forest restoration. Obviously, we have 100 years of fire suppression. We have a landscape that's now prone to catastrophic fire. We are trying to position ourselves to a sustained response over the next 10 plus years. We need both tactical and strategic actions. It's not enough for us to plan for the big ideas. We need action now, almost to buy ourselves insurance and time to implement the big idea. And Truckee cannot do it alone. So I have limited staff. We have about 40 people at the ranger station. We need partners. We need the community to join us in this effort. And you are. I always like to include this sign. So 100 years of fire suppression. So this is just your typical summer thunderstorm and the amount of lightning strikes that we received in maybe about 2 hours. Now imagine this over 100,000 years. All of these represent potential starts. These forests would have received so much more fire than what they're receiving now, right? So that's a good illustration of what were the conditions, how many fires were there really. So we have recently created a new partnership in Truckee called the Middle Truckee River Watershed Forest Partnership. This is our big idea. The west side of the Tahoe has the North Yuba. That's its landscape level project. We have our own, and it's made up of 5 organizations: the Nature Conservancy, the National Forest Foundation, Truckee Meadows Water Authority, so the water purveyor out of Reno. That was a big get for us. Forest Service, and the Truckee River Watershed Council. So we have a new website, truckeeforest.org. That's where we're going to update sort of where we are in project planning and implementation. Definitely would recommend checking it out from time to time. What this group has done is we've identified 60,000 acres we'd like to treat within the next 10 years within the Middle Truckee River watershed. And we are emphasizing community protection, forest restoration, water quality, and prescribed fire is a big one. That shows up a little bit. We've identified these 60,000 acres within the watershed. Most of it, again, is clustered around important egress and escape routes, infrastructure, power lines, things of that nature, homes. It's obviously a big driver. We used a variety of mapping tools, so you've heard of maybe Vibrant Planets model. There's different sediment models, fire behavior. So all of that informed kind of where we're going to work. The first one starts, and I confirmed it this morning, June 10th, Cabin Creek, West River Street, 89 South, west side. So this is the Jackass Ridge Trail System. We will implement a forest closure. So we will be closing some of our most popular mountain bike trails in the area. We don't want to do it, but we have found through the Big Jack East project, we really need to do it to ensure public safety. Masticators, felling equipment, they can throw shards of wood, upwards of 500 feet. So 1,900 acres, mastication, heavy equipment will be seen along Highway 89 South. The overall project is about 6,000 acres and goes all the way down to the Olympic Valley entrance. So 89 South, west side. Really excited. That was a big EA for us. We're going into spotted owl packs. We have a great mix of mastication, meadow enhancements. It's really thinning the forest down to a level, quite honestly, that probably the community has not seen in some time. The measurements that we're using are based on what we've seen to be successful on the Caldor and the Dixie fire. So we want to ensure that we're learning from these catastrophic fires. So June 10th. Alder 89 Wooey, we're hoping to start this summer as well. So this project takes place along 89 North. We're trying to create a better defensible space or a more defensible space along the Alder Creek Road and then Highway 89 North. This is going to be done in 2 phases. We don't really do timber sales in Truckee, but we thought on this project we might be able to do that. And so I say 2 phases because we have a partner that's going to help just with the fuels component, and then we have another partner that's, or hopefully a contractor is going to just purchase the trees, the timber material. And that's already out on the street, and we should have that closed and reviewing bids here shortly. Ladybug is to the east or northeast of Stampede Reservoir. That started last week, and it's going to ramp up through the summer. If you're familiar with that area, at the end of the paved road, there's a T. Sometimes we call it the party, because that's a dispersed camping location. We're not that clever, but it's got its name during COVID because we would do patrols out there and people were installing hot tubs. So there was portable hot tubs, and it turned into the party location. Anyway, 2,000 acres. Wait, that's going to start, let's see, May 23rd. So they're going to start hauling timber May 23rd. So that's accelerating out there. That will require additional closures. Those are all strategic actions. So what are the tactical actions? What do we need to be doing now to buy us time? And this is where our roadside fuel break project came in. So we were burning last week because the idea is simple. is between Sierraville and Truckee, we're trying to utilize our road system, provide for better protection, opportunities for our suppression resources to get on those new fire starts, prevent the next big one. And so we have almost 200 miles of road, National Forest System roads, in which we are trying to buffer 100 feet off either side of the road. Mastication, thinning, and then introduce prescribed fire. And so that's what we've been doing. See these signs out there in several locations. We did about 50 miles of mastication and thinning last summer. It takes a lot of effort, but the good news here in Nevada County, at least, we have a new good neighbor agreement that is close to finalization. And the idea is we're going to partner with Nevada County, and so they're going to continue the work. So it's going to be really multi-agencies going after what I think is really important. We had great results last week. So this is the work out by Boca. This was the work just north of town here. Really great, just low intensity fire, burning off duff, brush, etc. We had no issues and no smoke issues for town, which we were really happy with. And of course, with all the planning that we do, Nevada County was grading the same day we were burning. It's unbelievable. It's always something, but it turned out well. Okay, so priority 2, public services, recreation. We have, as John mentioned, we have more than 50 miles of new trail construction, at least planned for in the next 5 years, and that's significant public involvement. These are just some of the names of the trails that have been discussed. We don't need tactical and strategic, so sorry about that. That doesn't make sense. But 2 of the ones we're working on right now, Pines to Mines is on the right. Terrible map, but essentially most of the new trail construction associated with Pines to Mines is on the Truckee side of the project. We need to get from Castle Valley west. And then right now, with a state grant, my trail crew is attempting to build approximately 10 miles of new trail east of Boca. And the idea is we're going to have a trail that spans along the Verdi Ridge. Long distance trails are really kind of in vogue right now. And so Truckee to Reno, Truckee to Sierraville, Truckee to Auburn, Truckee to Nevada City, Truckee to Tahoe City. These are all kind of where the momentum is at the moment. Just some of the great scenes up at Pines to Mines. It does utilize a significant number of existing trails, but like I said, 20 new miles of trail construction is needed. One of the things we did here in Truckee, just as a quick reminder, is we were one of the leaders nationally on the Class 1 e-bike issue. And so we were the first forest to authorize Class 1 e-bikes on non-motorized trails. And some of the research that we did in support of that decision is now being used across the country. It essentially showed that the Class 1 e-bike is no faster downhill or on flat ground. It was just the uphill advantage. And we felt from a safety perspective, that's definitely something that we can manage. So I think it's been a huge success here, and we've authorized Class 1 for now 4 years. It's been going great. Rubicon Trail reroute. So we are losing a portion of the Jeep Trail known as the Rubicon Trail. You can see on the left-hand side of the Jeep is starting to erode into the creek, and so we have a big reroute project to get the Jeepers just around this section of road we think is going to fail eventually. One of the things we're doing in public services, this is Van Norden Meadow. So we did the big restoration project up there with Circle. It's worked out fantastic. On the left is during construction, on the right is after. And you can see how the water has come out of the channel and has flooded the meadow. This is exactly what we wanted. Why I bring it up in the context of public services is that when we plan for restoration activities, we're also trying to immediately plan for the recreation that's going to occur. And so this year, we're hoping to take some significant gains in the trail that will circumnavigate the meadow. So that's on the agenda for this summer. 3 minutes, you got it. Happy to report that last week, what was the name of the National Historic Landmark Committee met. They formally supported the establishment of a national landmark called Summit Camp, which would be at Donner Summit. So the National Committee has now forwarded that to the main committee. And so I believe that we will have a new national landmark designated here in the Truckee Ranger District within the next year. That's pretty exciting. Yeah, good for us. Does not include the tunnels. Won't get into that. I couldn't help but identify or to share with you all some of the things that I'm thinking about that are just outstanding needs in recreation that I don't have an answer for. First of all, signage and wayfinding. We need to do a better job as a community. Placer, Nevada County, local jurisdictions, the Forest Service. My vision would be we have a seamless set of signage and wayfinding so that our shared guests, no matter who they're recreating on, it's all the same system and it feels very much like it's a seamless operation. Would love to do that. We buy a lot of signs. It's always very, narrow in terms of the design standard and everything else. Would love to see us get more unified. I think Mammoth has a great example. This is the Verdi Peak Lookout. It looks like a clubhouse that a 12-year-old built. It's in horrible shape, but the views are outstanding. They're on right on the ridge line that overlooks into Nevada and then back to California. Man, I need a partner here. I don't know what to do with this site. Tough to access, but beautiful location. And the same could be said for Martis, right? Martis Peak Lookout. I think it's one of the prettiest lookouts in the nation. What an amazing view of the Lake Tahoe Basin. Then even looking back north to Truckee, just outstanding views, but it's falling apart. So it's got a paved road access, but I need some help managing it. I really do. And I think it's a great community asset. Lastly, we're one of the few places that has a motocross track. We have volunteers that help us with that motocross track, but we need to figure out, I think, a better way to sustain that resource because of the erosion issues and just the overall parking and management of the site. So those were the things that are on my mind. Thank you.
I think we'll hold questions for the end unless anybody has some right now.
I have one, but I'll wait till the end.
Okay, great. All right, up next is Mike Staudenmayer of the Northstar Community Services District. Mike, welcome.
Just this guy here. Great, thanks. Morning. Good to see a lot of the familiar faces out there. Going to talk a little bit about what Northstar has been up to in terms of forest management and what we're planning to do with all this wood that's coming out of the forest in particular. So if you didn't know much about Northstar CSD, we're kind of like a little town out there. We do water, sewer, solid waste, fire, ALS, forest management, trails. We built the Mars Valley Trail coming across the valley there, and snow removal and road maintenance on behalf of Placer County. And so as a result of the fire department and our experience with the Angora fire, or South Lake Tahoe in particular, we actually decided that we needed to do a little bit more of tactical and strategic work in our forests relative to reducing the threat of wildfire. So we hired a forester in 2008 and started chasing grants. And fast forward, we've done over 2,000 acres in and around our community there in Northstar. And that $2 million grant is now up to about $4 million in terms of leveraged money. And in 2021, much like Truckee's Measure T, we passed what we call Measure U. It's a parcel tax on every parcel, $219 a year. Gets us about $500,000 in additional revenue to help increase that scope and scale. So I'm not going to spend too much time. We know at the before and after, our forests need to be managed. We're not allowed to let them burn like we used, or Mother Nature used to, in particular around the neighborhoods. And so we got to go in there and remove that material. And even at Northstar, we'll generate sometimes 1,000 piles a year that we end up burning. This has, there's no mitigation on open pile burning, so you do get some smoke in the community, and there's only a few days a year that really kind of come together to allow you to do this. Burn scars in the forest aren't the greatest with that high intensity heat as well. So we like to try to get out what we can, and even mastication comes with a cost. This is heavy equipment, usually untracked. vehicles roaming around the forest, so there's impacts with that. We actually started a fire last fall on top of Watson, or the ridge up on Brockway by Mount Watson with our mastication. And so, it doesn't come without its risk either. So trying to get this material out of the forest is kind of one of the keys. And this pile here, we used to collect it in one of the Castle Peak parking lots at Northstar. This is represents about half of season's haul and about 350 bone-dry tons. And to put that into perspective, this region, call it a 20-mile radius from where we sit here, is generating upwards of 100,000 bone-dry tons a year of material that needs a home to go to. So most of this material today either winds up in landfill, or when they can get the pricing, they'll ship it over 100 miles away to either Rio Bravo down in Rockland or Honey Lake up by Susanville. So right now the problem is we're with that kind of diminished outlet arena, we're looking at paying as much as garbage to get rid of this material. And I can tell you, Eric and Dylan back here from Truckee Fire are contending with this in a big regard. It's over several $100,000 a year in disposal costs because of it. So what do? We used to chip and ship it. These, like I said, these outlets are becoming few and far between. So we decided we wanted to find a better use for this material. We came up with a project challenge as a result of a scoping study. I'm just going to read this right now. And CSD seeks to improve the economic viability, environmental impact, and overall effectiveness of removing and repurposing forest biomass in order to reduce wildfire risk and restore forest and watershed health. So we weren't looking for something else to do. We were already in the defensible space business. We were in the forest management business. We're generating this byproduct that has value, and we're treating it like garbage. So what can we do? And so we came up with a concept that is widely deployed in Europe and in northern climates in this country, particularly back east, where they actually go out and mine the forest just for the material to feed wood energy facilities and convert that biomass into heat in their heating facilities, from schools and everything in between. So we went back east a couple of years ago and looked at some of the technology in action. I think these slides are important for this community to take a look at, because really these facilities can operate in very sensitive areas without any impact to the communities. In fact, this one, the first site we went to was in Maine on a school campus, and so they installed their first facility. This is a 2 megawatt unit in 2009. 2 megawatt is the same size that we're planning for Northstar. And what's interesting is they employ a very kind of rudimentary form of emission mitigation technology called a multi-cyclone, which we're going to take up a couple levels with our facility. But you'll see that there's blue sky behind these stacks. These plants were running full steam, and you don't see anything. They liked it so much that they built another one a few years later on the same campus. So that goes to tell you right there that they had no issues. And they're right next to ball fields. I don't know if you can see this on the map, but the two yellow thumbtacks are where the facilities were located on the school campus, and they're adjacent to the classroom buildings and ball fields and whatnot. So next one we looked at was in the University of Maine in downtown Farmington. This one's kind of in an urban center. It's a 5 megawatt facility, which is quite a bit larger than what we're proposing. Here you can see a little steam coming out of the stack. That's not smoke. This day happened to be 5 degrees. There was steam coming out of your mouth as you spoke, but that's all you witness coming out of a stack. This propane tank here is huge. It's probably 60 feet long. It's 14,000 gallons. It would provide a 3-day backup if the facility were to go down. I like this slide because what we're doing with this wood energy is we're displacing a fossil fuel, that being either propane or natural gas. And so this tank gives you a kind of visualization of how much of that fossil fuel you are displacing in just a 3-day period. They've never had to fire up the backup for this particular facility. And this is just an overhead view. You can see residential buildings or homes and whatnot right across the street. So pretty urban zone, and again, no issues. Here's one on a hospital. So if you can think of a more sensitive site than that, I don't know what it would be, but they installed this one and actually strapped the stack right to the hospital building itself. And so here again, you can see some steam coming out, and then on the right is the facility. This is a chip bunker. It's basically a big garage that the chip vans back into and off-haul the wood chips. We'll have something like this in our facility with about a week of supply of wood chips, and then it feeds itself with an auger. These are very automated systems. You can literally run them from your phone, about half an hour a day of maintenance. This is an electrostatic precipitator, or ESP. This is an emission control device that takes it up a level from the multi-cyclone that I mentioned. We're actually going to go above and beyond this with a newer technology utilizing ceramic filtration, which does 100% of the particulate and up to 90% of the NOx, which is really great. Just even a higher level emission control. Buried insulated pipe is what you're seeing here on the left. This will take basically all we're doing is we're heating water and we're pumping it underground through this pipe and connecting into existing natural gas-fired boilers and through a heat exchanger, which you can see on the picture on the right. It's about the size of a file cabinet. And so you can retrofit this into any facility that uses water to heat their buildings. And this particular building on the right was a 120-year-old dorm building, and so pretty easy to do and low impact. You can push this heat about a mile and only lose about 5% of the energy, so it's kind of nice. Does come with a price, though. The piping is not cheap, about $700,000 per mile of piping. This is a rendering of what our facility will look like. Again, it's a 2 megawatt. This we don't have a stack. Everything's combined within the building. This is a cross-laminated timber building, so we're using a timber product to build the building as well. Like I said, about 3,800 bone-dry tons a year. Northstar, like I said, 300 to 700 bone-dry tons a year is what we're pulling out of our forest. And again, this region has a need to dispose of upwards of 100,000. And so we're not going to solve the issue of disposal in and of itself with this project, but hopefully we'll kind of create a catalyst for a utilization industry to be born in this area. Little overview, if you're familiar with Northstar, on the top of the map is where the fire station is in our admin building. That's where we're going to site the facility. And then through buried insulated pipe on Northstar Drive, we move the heat up and then connect into a variety of facilities that heat the Northstar Village with pools and spas and interior conditioned space. Looking at upwards of $500,000 in natural gas annual costs. A sizable amount of displacement of a fossil fuel with that. And the emission studies, there's a couple links here if anyone's interested that's looked at the life cycle in terms of greenhouse gas emissions and what you can reduce with a wood energy facility versus open pile burning and the particulates that go with that. Natural gas is a very volatile commodity, and right now, or at least at the beginning of the month, we were looking at 25-year historical lows, and our project still pencils at that rate. Since beginning of May, natural gas is up 35%. So you can imagine the volatility. That would be nice to get off your books. I guess I'm going to end with this slide as a bumper sticker I took picture of in New Hampshire, and a lot of regions that are in the forest have really embraced the wood products and the wood utilization as part of their economy. I mentioned that back east they go into the forest to mine the wood, just for the material to feed these facilities. And they're paying upwards of $62 a bone dry ton to feed the various heating plants. And what we're doing here is we're going into the forest for a completely different reason, as Jonathan mentioned and we all know. And we're treating the byproduct like garbage. The whole idea here is to try to flip that, take this resource and put it back into the economy in a better way than we are today. And I think one of the things I want to leave folks with is this really is a cultural shift, a mind shift for California. There hasn't been a real biomass wood energy facility built in many, many years in California, particularly since the lumber industry has kind of gone through its metamorphosis. And so this isn't just a temporary thing. We're in this for the long haul. The forests need to be managed. We can't allow natural fire to do its thing on the open landscape, particularly in our neighborhoods, until we get down into that maintenance mode. And even then, we're going to still have ongoing wood coming out through defensible space and right-of-way clearing and that kind of thing. And so in perpetuity, like it or not, we're going to be actively managing these forests. And so we need to close the loop on how we're doing that, making it as efficient as possible. And we can do that with facilities like this. So thank you.
Let's take 5 minutes just to open up for questions for the forest speakers. So John, and Mike, if you wouldn't mind, and then Laura, we'll go to you in a second. Yeah, in the back there.
I have a question on the Northstar presentation. Where are you getting the cross laminate wood for your facility?
I've got asked that before. I'm not sure where the wood is going to come to yet, since we haven't bid that portion of the project yet. And so it would be sourced most likely through a vendor that would source the material, I think, out of the Pacific Northwest, but that's TBD.
Yes.
This question is probably more for Jonathan. I've seen, and you explained the fact that forest thinning these days is being done on a scale that leaves trees further apart. And it seems like there's not enough of a diverse age stand left, like smaller trees. And I'm curious as to what the approach is and why, because I worry that we are managing forests now more for fire, which is important, wildfire, and not for the longevity of the forest. Because what I see too is that the larger trees that are left are also still dying. So I'm just worried about what the forest is going to look like in 10 to 20 years.
I think it's a fair question. So anything by roads or communities, it's going to feel that way, because we're going to take that residual amount of material down to, again, a level that we've probably not seen around here for some time. When you get out of that immediate WUI, that interface area, then definitely those values come well more into play, where we're trying to retain a greater diversity of size and classes of trees. Yeah, but not in the direct interface.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of related to that question, is there a consensus among wildlife biologists on wildlife protection that's occurring through the forest thinning?
They are. So take the spotted owl, for example. Most of our spotted owl here in Truckee live along the 89 corridor. And the wildlife biologists, their analysis, their surveys, the biggest risk to the spotted owl along 89 is catastrophic fire. It's not the thinning that we're doing. We do have core protection areas, so the areas immediately around nest sites, that's going to be a very light touch. But they felt like in order to sustain that species here, we need to treat more closer to that core area and with greater intensity, because we will lose the sites with fire. That's what we've seen on the Dixie, and that's what we saw on the Caldor.
And you are leaving a certain percentage of snags? Is there
We do, yes. Yeah. And again, at different interval distances from those core areas.
Jonathan. On the Truckee Tahoe Travel Alert, we have a rack of all the wildfire lookout cams, and that's on our website for, all eyes and ears on the webcams are great, virtually or in person. I know there's a webcam on Martis, is there a webcam on Faraday Peak? And then second question is, where will the goats be?
The goats, yes. Forgot to mention the goats. So we're still planning on goats. It's just the same 5 people working on every project. So goats are still planned for the Big Jack East area. And the idea is that we treat between maybe 50 to 100 acres using goats. Goat yoga is an option. So that contract is still being worked on, yes.
The yoga part.
The yoga part.
And that's right up against the housing?
Right up against the housing.
Yep.
This is a trial because as soon as they start eating everyone's petunias, you know, it's going to be something we need to work through. But I'm optimistic that that can be another tool in the toolbox. Big Jack East was treated 3-4 years ago. I'd like to have those critters into munch before we can really reintroduce fire, because it has responded pretty well to the open canopy.
Yeah, right here.
Hey, Jonathan, I'm just curious, are you working with your projects that sound like they're well-financed, the ones you're kicking out, but are you working at all with conservation finance groups like Blue Forest to try to create incremental funding, or is that not needed? Or?
We're having those conversations because, you know, take Reno Water, right? The Truckee Meadows Water Authority. They may have a much longer interest in some upfront investment because they see themselves as providing water for a very long time to the city. So we are having those conversations. Most of our projects have been funded by the Wildlife Conservation Board of the state of California. The Alder 89 project, we're hoping again to do a timber sale so that it pays for itself, which is again pretty rare for Truckee, but we're hoping that's the right project to do that. Yes.
One more question for now. I saw something back there. Did you get yours answered?
Just along the Teelan Street by Silverford to the gate,
Yeah.
Road 06, there was a stripping that was left. Obviously there's private property that's right along the street. Is there any way to figure out how to clean the rest of it up? We don't own the piece across the street. The original owner, I can probably get a hold of them, but
Yes.
there's a bunch of understory down low on that thing. Is there any plan to just?
Yes. Let me suggest that if anyone neighbors the National Forest, I'd love to work with you or a group to help us implement that. So do that fuels reduction. Really trying to get the neighbors and adjacent homeowners and landowners to help us with some of that immediate defense work. So the answer is yes, we can talk about that and would really like some help to do it. Joanne.
Well, to build on his question, is it possible, because it's not clear in my brain yet exactly where you're talking about, but is it possible that that might be a place where Eric from Truckee Fire might be a contact if it's in the neighborhood?
Well, there's some, I'd like to talk about that too, because there's neighbors that have decided not to treat their property, and people came around and did a nice job talking with people, but there's some compliance that needs to happen. So, anyway.
I have a very high risk tolerance for work adjacent to homes and private property. We don't really have resource issues, right? Most of our resources are well outside of that direct interface. If there's a group, if there's an agency, if there's a homeowners association that wants to undertake some fuels reduction within that first 100 feet, door is wide open.
All right, thanks, Jonathan. I appreciate it. And now we're going to switch gears to education, and our nonprofit speaker is Laura Brown with the Tahoe Truckee Excellent in Education Foundation.
Thank you. All right. Good morning. We're down there. So my name is Laura Brown. I am the executive director with the Tahoe Truckee Excellence in Education Foundation. And Excellence in Education is the nonprofit organization that supports our local school district. Our mission is to enhance public education within the Tahoe Truckee Unified School District to strengthen the learning experience for students. So every year, the foundation invests over $250,000 into the students and classrooms of TTUSD. We do this by partnering with local businesses and the community to raise money, which then enables us to fund grants, partnerships, and resources that benefit our district. And we've been doing that for over 35 years. We are separate from THUSD, but we do work very closely with the district. And as I mentioned, we are actually mission aligned through our support to the district and organizations that support THUSD. So what does that look like? We have an annual grant cycle where individual teachers do write into us for grants for enhancements for their classroom. We fund a lot of musical instruments at all age levels. We fund science equipment. As a matter of fact, I think next week I'm joining students from the Truckee High River Ecology class. They are walking over to Coldstream and using water and soil probes that we were able to fund for some field work. A lot of robotic kits. We fund pottery wheels and kilns at all age levels, as well as a lot of supplemental reading materials, novels, and then a lot of books for the younger readers. If you ever look really closely at any THUSD book, bus stop, you will see these bags attached to just about every backpack with supplemental readers that go back and forth each day. So these grants are designed to support teachers in their instruction and also provide the opportunity for students to engage deeper in their learning through hands-on experience. We also partner with the district on larger initiatives. One of the best examples of that, I would say, are the Chromebooks, which was a partnership we started with the school district over 10 years ago. And to date, every student in our school district has their own district-issued Chromebook, laptop, computer. Part of the idea with that was to level the playing field on technology as well within our district. All students then have the same version and type of a laptop computer, and it also teaches or helps the teachers, with every student being on the same device. And we did not know COVID was coming, but I will say that was a savior in the COVID years. And then another example, which actually aligns with today, is a partnership we had. It was a multi-year partnership with Sierra Watershed Council and, SWEP, Sierra Watershed Education Partnership, and several other organizations within this community. And that was the Forest Fire Program. Many of you may have seen the display that was at the rec center for several years. Excellence in Education we were able to fund the educational component with that. There was a beautiful book that was actually award-winning that I have a copy up here that all the elementary students were able to use, and we actually partnered as well with our friends with Truckee Fire to do some access around clearing defensible space. So we're able to provide all of this support through our fundraising efforts. Many of our longtime fundraisers are partnerships within the community, skiing for schools, dining for schools, golfing for schools, and as well as individual donation. And one of our latest partnership opportunities is with the Barracuda Golf Tournament that is coming to Old Greenwood in July. There is a flyer on your table, but if you purchase tickets through that QR or through the link that's on our website, 50% of the ticket price proceeds come back to the foundation. Even if you're not a golfer, it's a really fun, family-friendly event out at Old Greenwood. So yeah, thank you again for the opportunity for sharing today.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Yeah, don't forget your green bags, right? Wednesday's my daughter's, and yeah, if you forget, you feel bad. All right, so now we're going to go around the room, and we're just going to do stump speeches if you just want to stand up, and we're going to start with Kelly Habibi of Sierra Buttes Trail Stewardship. So go ahead.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Excuse me. My name is Kelly. I'm here with Sierra Buttes Trail Stewardship, and we are a nonprofit based in Quincy dedicated to building trails for everyone. I am excited to share with you today our Connected Communities project, which is a project connecting 15 communities from Truckee to Chester via an extensive network of trails. So a very ambitious project. We have recently released our Trails Master Plan, and with that we are doing a trails tour to go to communities and present on what we're doing, what's happening with the Connected Communities project, and kind of get feedback and get people involved. So we have 2 Tahoe locations coming up for this presentation, and our first one will be at the Gear Lab in South Lake Tahoe on June 3rd at 4 p.m. And that's going to be a presentation, time for feedback, things like that. And then after that, we are going to be coming to Truckee to Alibi Ale Works on June 23rd, and that will be a 6 p.m. presentation. And we'll be presenting. There will be a 1 p.m. bike ride, so people can ride bikes, come have a beer, listen to the presentation, ask questions, and kind of get involved with the project and sort of learn what's happening in terms of development from now, hopefully going forward. So we hope to see you there, and if you have any questions, please find me. I'll be happy to be seeing you there and talking about this project in greater detail. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. Appreciate it. Colleen.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Colleen, Visit Truckee Tahoe. A couple of exciting announcements. You'll finally be seeing a vault toilet at Johnson Canyon Trailhead. Yes. We have partnered with the Land Trust. That was a lot of convening during COVID, actually. And we're also wrapping up our $70K funding for the Land Trust to complete a master plan of the Johnson Canyon parking lot area, which is really needs a lot of help. So that's part of our stewardship initiatives. And also, if your friends and family want to come to Truckee now and book 2 nights lodging, they get a $100 e-gift card, Sustainable Truckee gift card. So June 21st.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm April with the Friends of the Truckee Library, and we are undergoing our community engagement to understand what the community wants in the design for the new library. So our first in-person community engagement booth will be at the Truckee Day Community Barbecue. So after you clean up all the trash, come over to the community barbecue and come to our booth, talk to us, and be a part of the engagement so we can hear what it is that you will use in the new library.
Thanks, April. Yes, back. Wendy.
Wendy Damani with Morris Camp Foundation. Kind of on the heels of April, we are doing a community-wide survey. We were at the coffee bar a couple times this month, and I believe Jessica put it in the newsletter to everybody with the chamber. If you could fill out that survey, it will greatly help the Morris Camp Foundation really understand where the community wants funding to go. So it's a QR code, scan it, super easy. It'll take about, a minute and a half to fill out. And if you do it and get to the coffee bar before what month are we in? May 31st, we'll get you a free cup of coffee. So thank you. And Laura, you and I should connect.
Yes.
Sarah Green, California Trails Conference Foundation. Some of you know that we just held our annual California Trails and Greenways Conference locally for the first time in 11 years, which was really exciting for me and for everyone locally. But California Trails and Greenways is a statewide trails conference in partnership with the state parks. And it was a really successful event out at Olympic Valley last month with 380 attendees, which is huge. And a few of you were involved, which was great. But another announcement is that actually I'll be stepping down as executive director with the foundation. So we are hiring for an executive director. If anyone's interested, spread the word, and it is on our website, californiatrailsconference.org. And real quick, on a personal note, I want to thank the Truckee Donner Land Trust for putting a memorial for my mother at the base of Johnson Canyon. Barbara Green was my mother, and thank you so much because it's really neat to have that little plaque there. Check it out at the base of Johnson Canyon. That's great. Thanks, John.
Yeah.
All right. The talk of all the land and trails here is wonderful. I think we'd rather be here than making a trip to New York City, but there's fine music in New York City, and Town Music Alive is saving you the cost and the time of going to New York City, because we are bringing fabulous concerts here this summer. July 6th from Juilliard, Carol Winsick, the Queen of Flutes, will be playing with another flutist and a Yamaha pianist. And on August 5th, George Cable's New York jazz lesson legend will bring his A-team, and they'll be playing piano, bass, and drums. So you don't have to buy a ticket. It's right here for you.
Thanks. Eric?
Yeah, good morning. I just want to say thanks for all the familiar faces and all the land management that's going on. I think as a community it's super important to hear all this work that's going on and flip our lens of what a healthy forest really is. I think our perception of this really dense forest that you can't even throw a tennis ball through your dog through is not a healthy forest. That is an overdense, overgrown forest that has not seen healthy, beneficial, ecologically restorative fire in 100 to 200 years, depending on where you're at here. So we really appreciate the community being on board, receiving this education, and flipping our lens to what a healthy forest is, and knowing the difference between us really going aggressive with fuel reduction near the community, like Jonathan said, versus balancing this uneven stand density and uneven forest management when we're further out from our community. So super important. Right now, May is Wildfire Awareness Month. How many of you have picked up a rake or a chainsaw this spring? Okay, maybe overzealous, but talk to your neighbor then. Quick stat that's not so friendly is that we've inspected over 9,000 homes in the last 2 years. At the end of this fall, we're going to have basically every house and vacant lot within the fire district inspected since Measure T passed. So 2022, 23, 24. Little asterisk with Tahoe Donner, they've been doing a stand-up job in their community, and they're on a 6-year enforcement inspection cycle. But our stats are terrible. 9 out of 10 homes are actually non-compliant with defensible space. So that means 9 out of 10 homes have something they can do for a defensible space. So really it is a call to action. If you're in a Firewise community, connect, volunteer, talk with your neighbors. If you're not in a Firewise community, both Jason and myself are here to help get these Firewise community efforts going. Our curbside pickup program is up and running. We've already serviced over 100 piles, so we got that big grapple truck in. Truckee Fire actually secured a 3-year agreement in the tune of $2 million with Tahoe Truckee Sierra Disposal. So this curbside green waste pickup program is here to stay. We've got 2 grapple trucks, grapple trailer. We can pretty much get to every property within our fire district. So do your defensible space work, make your piles, make your request. If you're in the town, you got your green waste bins. We got free green waste drop-off events. Ton of work going on. We've been working with all the partners in this room, land managers and agencies, on a community wildfire protection plan. So we kind of have our priority roadmap set up for our next, let's call it 10,000 acres of fuel reduction that's going to happen around a community. Dylan, along with another team, secured a $7 million grant from CAL FIRE, a forest health grant that's going to treat nearly 3,000 acres. So hats off to CAL FIRE, Climate Change Investments, Martis Camp for a huge amount of cash match, and all of our project partners in that. We're super excited to have more work going on, but it really is, we need every level of the community looking at what they can do for defensible space, fuel reduction, home hardening. We got a new $500 rebate available so you can replace vents, replace combustible fences, upgrade your actual house, and get money back from Measure T for it. So if you haven't been to it, check out our website, truckeefire.org. We got a wildfire prevention tab. All of our programs are under it. We're here to serve the community, and we're available.
Great, thank you. Yeah, Peter.
Peter Mayfield, Gateway Mountain Center. We support youth of all backgrounds in this community, and we have summer camps coming up. Free summer camps, youth ecology and adventure camps for youth who are underserved. A lot of the referrals come from school counselors. You can refer somebody. There's about 4 different dates on our website, but those are amazing. And then on the other end of the spectrum, our kind of premium summer camp, Camp Donner Summit, we earn revenue there that supports the free summer camps, but there's still spaces there, and that's like a day camp version of Outward Bound. Even the 4-year-olds rock climb and climb up Stewart Peak, and it's pretty amazing. So, and every day we have the Youth Wellness Center open 5 days a week, right next to the Tahoe Truckee School of Music, and it's a really nice drop-in center, great food, all sorts of wellness activities, and very skilled peer support specialists. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. Yeah, my daughter went to one of the Donner Summit camps last year, and not be happier. Dirtiest face ever, and just a big, big smile. So, yeah. Anybody else? Yes.
Hi, Alex Bihalski, Truckee Donner Community. We are also gearing up for wildfire season, and probably the most impactful part of that for our community is the preemptive de-energization programs. That's when wildfire danger is high and power might get turned off. So for those who don't know, we are a distribution network, but we're transmission reliant on NV Energy. So the power that comes into Truckee comes from NV Energy. So we are at the will of their PSOM is what it's called program. They've indicated that between June 1st and June 15th is when their wildfire season is going to start. So we're really going to be looking to get the word out to continue to educate everybody on what that program means and how it could affect us here in Truckee. I think we've been pretty lucky over the last couple of years that we haven't had one of those events, and I think people might be getting a little bit complacent, not really thinking that it's a possibility, and we don't want to let that happen. So you can go check out our website, tdpud.org/PSOM, and we're going to be putting out a lot of information to the community about that in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you. Yes, Jessica.
Just a reminder that sponsorship for the 4th of July parade closes on May 30th, and so that's coming up. Our theme this year is Throwback Thursday, since 4th of July is on a Thursday. We also have lots of space still for floats, so if you have any questions about that, you can talk to Ruth or Marissa, and they can get you more information. But we're excited. It's going to be here before we know it. So.
And a mixer this Thursday.
And there's a mixer this Thursday, yes, and it's going to be awesome. So we're partnered with Old Greenwood, Tahoe Mountain Club, and Barracuda, 5 to 7. The menu is incredible. It's going to be great. So if you're not planning to come, you should plan to come.
Okay, and now a stump speech for next Good Morning Truckee, which is June 18th. We're going to hear from the Washoe tribe. So the Tribal Council Chairman, Smokey Serrell, and Dr. Lisa Grayshield. So a really special Good Morning Truckee. It's going to run longer. It's going to be 2 hours. So we're going to go from 8 to 10 o'clock. We hope to see all of your faces here so we can hear about the indigenous voices and the land that we're living on. Without further ado, we will now go into the door prize. What do we have? First, we have a return ticket to Good Morning Truckee will go to Thomas Smith with Cal Fire. Some Peak Digital Studio swag. Looks like a coffee mug and a mouse pad. That is going to Erica Bennett. Coffee bar gift card of $20. Eva Diamante. And Excellence in Education donated 2 reusable bags and a Mountain Brew. This is the same one or separate? But we're going to put them together. And a Mountain Brew $20 gift card to Xander's Bottle. Oh, and Xander's Bottle Shop. And that will go to April Cole. All right, April. And finally, a sustainable gift card of $15 to Visit Truckee, given by Visit Truckee Tahoe, redeemable at many local businesses. See Ruth afterwards to redeem your door prize. Dylan Sheedy of Truckee Fire District. Man. There it is. And that is the conclusion of this May's Good Morning Truckee. Thank you all for being here. It was a great one. Thanks to all our presenters. Let's give them a big round of applause once again. Have yourselves a good day.